So when we're talking about the transportation side of it, in particular, lots of applications. You know, we'll see thermal cameras more and more on automobiles. We already now are the same, again, the same technology that's in this camera here. BMW, for instance, puts in their core, because you can see further than your headlights, and you can see a lot better than your headlights. You see the imagery down there with the deer. Obviously, enhanced vision systems for aviators is another application. We mentioned the security and surveillance and firefighting as well. Firefighters use the technology because you can see directly through smoke. So if they're going into a building where they can't see their hand in front of their face, they can hold a thermal imager up and be able to navigate through there and certainly find anybody that's in there as well. So now we're going to get to the part that we all know and love, and that is, how does it benefit you? How does it benefit the maritime industry? Tremendous safety applications, but also some that we're going to talk about that you maybe wouldn't think of otherwise. Next slide, please. So enhanced situational awareness. Obviously, first and foremost, a safety. It's you know, some people say, hey, this is a neat new toy, and I like to say, no, it's a neat new tool. It's a tool that is going to make the maritime navigating in a maritime environment a heck of a lot easier and safer. Increased safety, clearly see other vessels and markers and structures that you wouldn't see otherwise. Collision avoidance, again, down here, there's a log in the water. And I've got a video that I'll play afterward, and you can get on our website and see, you know, real live footage from these cameras to be able to see those kinds of, I know it's kind of difficult to see that from the back row. Crew safety, man overboard, there is no better tool to have on board if somebody goes in the water, and that's day or night. Again, it's unaffected by visible light. So even during the day, when there's a lot of glare on the water, you can see there's a real contrast difference between a warm body and the cool water around them. And when we're talking about very, very minute differences in temperature too, so a fraction of a degree. So a person, obviously, on the surface is quite a bit warmer than even if they're down in, you know, in the tropics, they're going to be quite a bit warmer than the water around them. Security and surveillance. At night, it's a very low power draw system, so if you're out on an anchorage or if you're in your marina, it is standard analog video, so it'll plug into any monitor. You can see I've got it into just a TV monitor here, just like plugging in a DVD player. So if you want to run, obviously at the helm, you know, at a primary station or even a second station, but also in the stateroom at night, if you need to flick it on and see what's going on around the marina, you can do that very clearly or very easily. So some of the more, I find the more interesting applications that we have customers that are using this for, and again, this technology applies to not just your recreational mariners, but to commercial mariners for a variety of different reasons. We've got, you know, for whale detection and avoidance, obviously mammal avoidance is a big issue with cruise liners, with high-speed ferries. They're, you know, 300, 400-foot ferries that are cruising at 23 knots. They need to be able to see these kinds of things. It's an asset for oil spill recovery. The oil on the surface of the water it has different thermal characteristics. It really gets into this other element called emissivity characteristics, which is the way things absorb and emit thermal energy. But you know, for booming at night, for instance, or seeing other vessels in their operation while they're doing that for an oil recovery. Into iceberg detection, I'm sure you've all seen, for instance, the Northwestern, the deadliest catch. There's actually one on Sig's boat, and there was an episode not too long ago where he's looking at his FLIRs and he's seeing the ice field out there thinking, uh-oh. Because again, a thermal, you know, an ice cube or an iceberg on the water is going to appear differently than the water that it's in. And then again, I know some of you, when you maybe heard that I was coming here to talk about night vision and thermal imaging, thought, well, this doesn't apply to me because I don't boat at night. Well, now you can, for one. That's the first thing I'll tell you. You know, you're going to feel a lot more comfortable in doing it. And the fact that you don't boat at night, I'd imagine for many of you, is probably because it's scary out there at night. And you know, this brings, even with radar, and again, I don't advocate, and we don't advocate, FLIR don't advocate replacing radar. But this gives you another tool, so now you can look and see something on your radar, and now you can clearly see, if you can watch TV, if you can watch TV, you can use one of these cameras safely and effectively on the water at night. So, and then, getting into using it during the daytime, if there is a lot of glare, and we've all been in that situation where you're coming into a new port and you're looking for a channel marker that isn't where it's supposed to be, and you got a lot of glare and there's just a lot going on, take that glare off the water and you can see that, you can see it a lot better. It takes, because again, that visible light, it's not sensitive to it. So, going back to the comparison now, we've all seen it. We've all used starlight scopes before. It's taking visible light and it's amplifying that visible light. It's traditionally in a green screen, although some of them are getting better now where they're not, they don't have that green screen, but you still have that washout, running lights on another vessel, and obviously the definition, the contrast issue with the boat or whatever vessel, whatever you're looking at, it's not going to be nearly as clear. It's going to be washed out with that light. And you can see the difference between it from a starlight scope to a thermal scope. Not only can you see very clearly that it's a small vessel, but you can even see how many people are on the boat. So if I can jump over here. If you've been on our website, you've seen this, because this I think is a really good example of the kind of benefit that you would see. Now this isn't a doctored photo, this is this is what you'd see without it, and this is what you see with it. And notice that the bridge lights, for instance, on this bridge, they aren't blooming out like they would with a starlight scope. It's very good. Not only can you see the bridge very clearly, but you can even see, the characteristics of the surface of the water. So going back to the fact that it's a standard analog video, it's an easy upload, and it goes to another point that John brought up with multifunction displays today. All of them are doing it. Simrad, Garmin, Raymarine, Furuno. All of the multifunction, I think it'd be difficult to buy a multifunction display today that is bigger than 8 inches that doesn't have a video input in the back of it. So from a standpoint, from an upgrade on your boat, you don't have to go out and buy a new monitor for it. You just can buy the camera and mount the camera, somewhere up on a hardtop, and just run a video cable right at the back of your monitor, and you have it right there at your helm. So it's a very simple upgrade or installation from that standpoint. And then going into the part I mentioned earlier about, geez, I don't even boat at night, so why would I need one of these? Well, you probably boat during twilight hours. You probably would like to go out there and see the sunset, but you got a long cruise back. Maybe there's intercoastal involved if you're boating down off of Florida, for instance, and I got, a 30-minute run back to the marina, and I don't want to do that at night. Well, this extends that boating day, and certainly in areas, even, we notice even with our Florida customers that even though it's warm year-round, it's still, the sun's getting, the sun goes down a little earlier than it does, or in the wintertime than it does in the summer. So they're not, that boating day, that time that that optimally they're out on their boats is much shorter because they're worried about getting back in. And now this is a real benefit of putting or using a FLIR, is you can really extend that boating season.